So, folks, it is Chargers Patriots week. It's always an interesting week because Chargers haven't beaten the Patriots in a while. We all know 45-0, and the next year Mac Jones comes in and beats them. But we had to bring on a compa, somebody who's been on the show numerous times. Doug Kyed from the Boston Herald. He covers the Patriots. Doug, thank you so much for jumping on. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Fernando? Always good to talk to you.
Good. You guys, this is so Doug and I met a couple of years ago in 2020. We're at the Super Bowl. We're waiting for Rob Gronkowski to come up and lie to us. I mean, talk to us because Doug, you were there. I asked him straight up, "Do you ever get the itch of trying to come back?" And he's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm retired." Then that offseason, he goes and signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Doug and I met there, and ever since then, we developed a great friendship but it's funny because Doug asked me, "Hey, it's going to be interesting for you to cover Tom Brady next year." I'm like, "I don't think Tom Brady's coming to the Chargers," but it's always it was an interesting time to meet you, Doug, and obviously it was definitely fun to continue this friendship.
Definitely, yeah. And I guess now I'll ask you, how's it going to feel to cover Bill Belichick next year?
All right,
We'll
you
see.
wanted to get into it. We're gonna get into it. I was gonna start off a little bit easier, but what the hell has happened?
It's a disaster over here in the New England area. I'm about 20 minutes, I don't know, northwest or something like that of Foxborough. I was just there at Gillette Stadium. We were asking Bill Belichick about the quarterback situation. He still has no answers. I don't know. It's just the roster is bad. The coaching staff is very inexperienced on offense. It does feel at this point like it's probably Bill Belichick's last season as head coach, but I'm certainly not. I don't know. I think anything could still happen here. I could still envision a scenario where he's back, but that's kind of what everyone is assuming is that this is it for Bill Belichick, and it's ugly. They're 2-9. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL, if not the worst team in the NFL. And the quarterback situation is the biggest disaster on the team right now.
What happened? Because the first year Mac Jones comes in, they showed promise. I mean, like I told you, they came into SoFi. They beat the Chargers. They made it to the playoffs that year. They just faced the Bills, and it just didn't go well. But it seems like hiring Matt Patricia to do offense and all this is kind of tailspun Mac Jones' career. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of factors. I think, first of all, Mac Jones is just a physically limited quarterback. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Justin Herbert. He's not, you know, Jalen Hurts or Tua or these types of guys who can elevate offenses a little bit better. And then also, I think it is, the changes that they've made on offense where they had Josh McDaniels in his rookie season and he played very well. I think that they kind of limited the offense a little bit to allow a rookie quarterback to thrive. And then the next year, as you mentioned, they bring in Matt Patricia as that pseudo offensive coordinator with Joe Judge as the quarterback's coach. Both of those guys had never manned those positions before, and it went very poorly. And I think that that's kind of where the tailspin started. And then they were supposed to right the ship this year by bringing in Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator. And I think that, Mac Jones was already so broken from last year and that it's just kind of continued. And Mac Jones is playing perhaps even worse this season than he did last year. And the offensive line is a mess. It's been a mess all season with injuries and personnel. They've got one of the worst pass catching cores in the NFL. And they've dealt with injuries there as well, with Kendrick Bourne out for the season. Devontae Parker's missed some time. Juju Smith-Schuster looks like a shell of himself at this point. So it really is kind of a culmination of factors, but I think it all boils down to the fact that Mac Jones has just completely lost the confidence that he had as a rookie. And, he lacks confidence in himself. He lacks confidence in the offensive line, lacks confidence in his receivers, lacks confidence in the scheme, just lacks confidence overall. And he won't admit to that, but that's what people are seeing behind the scenes with him right now.
And it must hurt him the fact that they're jumping from quarterback to quarter. Like at one point he's in, they bench him, he comes back in, they lose the game. Like it's really up and down. So that must really be messing with his psyche, I think, as well.
Yeah, and I can only imagine how this looks from the outside because like we're so deep into it being in New England and covering the Patriots on a day-to-day basis, I'm sure that anyone from the outside is being like, what the hell is going on there right now? So yeah, I mean, Mac Jones has been benched in 4 games now this season. It was 2 earlier in the season where there was blowouts against the Saints and the Cowboys. And after those games, Bill Belichick still said the score was out of hand. That's the only reason why he was benched. He's still our starting quarterback. But then against the Colts in Germany a couple of weeks ago before the Patriots bye week, Mac Jones was benched before a 2-minute drill when the Patriots were only down by 4 points. So that's about as damning as it can possibly get for a starting quarterback to be pulled in that situation with the game in hand, 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was after Mac Jones had thrown an interception. So I think after that, everyone assumed that Mac Jones would not be the starting quarterback after that game, but Bailey Zappi threw his own terrible interception within those 2 minutes. So then the Patriots go back to Mac Jones last week against the Giants after the bye week, like I mentioned, and he gets benched again at halftime after throwing 2 interceptions. Bailey Zappi came in, led them on a scoring drive, but also threw another interception. So I think that that's why there's now all of these questions about who the starting quarterback is going to be. If Bailey Zappi had performed even decently in any of his 4 relief appearances, he'd probably be the starter right now. But he's been just as bad in practice. He was just as bad during the preseason, during the summer and training camp. He was actually cut during roster cuts. The Patriots signed him in the practice squad, then brought him back to the roster before week 1. But if the Patriots had any other option at quarterback, Mac Jones would probably not be the starter, but there are 2 other guys on the roster, and Will Greer, who's back on the practice squad now. Malik Cunningham, who is a quarterback at Louisville. He's played wide receiver and quarterback on the Patriots practice squad, but Patriots just don't really seem in a hurry to give either one of those guys reps either.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Is there any way we could see Will Greer or Malik Cunningham this weekend? But doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, but I mean, I think anything is still possible. I would put one of those guys in at this point because, like, Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi have shown us what they can do, and it's nothing. So, like,
Yeah.
Will Greer, at least there's a mystery there with him. Malik Cunningham was Mac Jones' backup in Week 6 against the Raiders, but he told me last week that he hasn't got quarterback reps in practice since that point. Maybe that changes in practice this week, but just seems like Bill Belichick really just wants to keep trotting out Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi.
Let me ask you, is this going to be a JC Jackson revenge game?
It might be a JC Jackson revenge game for the Chargers, just, giving him that massive contract and him doing nothing with it. Jackson made one good play last week. He had a pass breakup, but otherwise he got beat by, a Giants rookie wide receiver in Jalen Hyatt for, I think it was over 100 yards. He gave up 2 really big completions, like a 20-plus yarder and a 40-plus yarder to Jalen Hyatt. Those struggles that he had with the Chargers have continued. I think it is probably a lot due to the knee right now. Also, the Patriots defense just in general is not as stout as it was in his first tenure with the Patriots. But yeah, I mean, it's also been kind of a mess with JC Jackson. He was left home from Germany because he missed bed check the week of the Week 9 game against the Commanders. So he was benched against Commanders, then left home from Germany. But then he came back last week and played a starter share of snaps, but he really struggled in those. So I think that it's entirely possible that those struggles will continue this week against the Chargers, facing off against some, I don't know which wide receiver he's going to face, but that wide receiver kind of has an advantageous matchup against Jackson right now.
You got to miss schnitzels and bratwurst. What a disappointment. I mean, the guy should have been there. So the way I've looked at this is right now it's the Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen show on offense. Those are the only 2. Like, Keenan Allen's the only weapon that he's consistently going to. Everybody else is kind of struggling to catch up to what those guys are doing. Quentin Johnson, we all know, Jalen Guyton, all that. It's been a struggle. In my opinion, though, I still see Bill Belichick as a defensive mind who's going to take away Keenan Allen and make everybody else try and beat them. Am I correct in that assessment, or what do you make of it? Because I don't think they're going to try and leave J.C. Jackson on Keenan Allen, because in training camp we saw him beat J.C. Jackson numerous times. So I don't think that'll happen. I mean, I don't know what, you're the one that's there. So right. What do you think?
Yeah, I would not. I wouldn't expect J.C. Jackson to face off against Keenan Allen that much, especially just because it seems like Keenan Allen's primarily getting most of his snaps out of the slot this season. And Jackson is pretty much primarily or exclusively an outside cornerback in New England. I am curious to see how they do that though this week, because Miles Bryant has been the Patriots slot cornerback almost all season. And it's gone, I don't know. It's been an up and down experience for Miles Bryant. It really, since he was an undrafted free agent out of Washington. So I don't think that's the best matchup for the Patriots. They also have Jonathan Jones, who used to be one of the best slot cornerbacks in the NFL, but he's had to play outside over the last 2 to 3 seasons just because of the personnel on the Patriots defense. So I'm kind of curious to see if they move Jonathan Jones back inside. And maybe you've got JC Jackson and Sean Wade as the outside cornerbacks. Maybe you just put Miles Bryant as one of the outside cornerbacks. He's played that a few times this season. But I do expect that to be the game plan, to try to eliminate Keenan Allen as much as possible and then rely on the rest of your cornerbacks to cover those Chargers wide receivers one-on-one, because it seems like that's, at least possible with this Chargers roster right now. So yeah, no, I 100% agree that that's the game plan for the Patriots. I'm just curious to see exactly what the matchup will be for New England, because, even if you double Keenan Allen, he's not going to be doubled on every snap. And I just don't think that you want Miles Bryant against Keenan Allen one-on-one in any situation. But Patriots defense has been really, really good this season in general, and especially over the last few weeks. The offense just can't do anything to bail them out right now.
Yeah, and I mean, right here, Keenan Allen, the last 3 games, 11 for 175, 2 touchdowns, 10 for 116, 1 touchdown. Then last week, 14 for 106. So lately he's been he's 31, but the dude's been cooking as of late. He's at 1,179 yards. He's close to breaking his career high. So it has been the Keenan Allen Justin Herbert show. In Boston, or in Massachusetts, what's your guys' outlook on Justin Herbert?
Yeah, I mean, I think very positively of Justin Herbert. I think the Patriots do as well. I think the Patriots liked him, before that draft. What was the 2020 NFL draft? They just didn't really have the firepower, to move up to that spot or anything like that. But I mean, I think very positively of Justin Herbert. I think that, there's still some questions, but I think that those could probably be solved by some of the coaching issues that the Chargers have had since he came in. But certainly one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. Bill Belichick was very complimentary of him this morning. And I think that's, how they feel about him internally as well. So yeah, it's a big challenge for the Patriots. I know that the receivers haven't stepped up as expected. And obviously the Mike Williams injury was unfortunate. But I think that he's a very good quarterback. And I think the Patriots look at it the same way.
Doug, what's it been like for these last 3? I mean, you've been around this team for a while, and you've seen all the success. The Tom Brady, the Bill Belichick only cracks a smile when they win the Super Bowl. It's been a while since he's cracked a smile, I think. But what are these last three or 4 seasons been like? And to see basically kind of people trying to push Bill out the door. Just what are these last few years been like covering that team?
It's been strange, and I think I look at it a couple of different ways. I think that a change probably needs to be made at somewhere. Like obviously, it's gonna have to be made at quarterback. They've tried to make the changes on the offensive coordinator position, that hasn't worked. But I think that something needs to be done, whether it's just moving on from Bill Belichick, trading him to another team, stripping him of the personnel decisions that he's been making, because the drafts have been really bad for pretty much like 10 years now. The last first round pick the Patriots have really hit on was probably way back in 2012 with Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones. And they used to hit on those first round picks year after year after year. So it's really been a struggle for him in the draft. It's been a struggle for them this season and in past years, even signing free agents, which is something they really used to hit on. I think he probably is still one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. I think that's why the Patriots defense has been so good, even after losing Matt Judon to injured reserve, losing Christian Gonzalez to injured reserve. So there's definitely still value in having Bill Belichick as your head coach. But I think that whatever happens next year, if he sticks around, would probably have to be on owner Robert Kraft's terms and his son Jonathan Kraft, who's the team president. And I'm not sure if Bill Belichick will be willing to accept that, be willing to accept some changes. So kind of curious to see what happens this offseason. But yeah, it's been very strange. And, we were used to Super Bowls year after year after year here in New England. And I don't think anyone expected this bottoming out this year. I think that I certainly expected the Patriots to be much better this year. I thought they'd be better than they were last year. I thought they'd probably make the playoffs. And I don't think that anyone could have foreseen Mac Jones being as bad or worse than he was last season. So yeah, I think some changes are probably coming, and I don't know if it's deserved or not. It's tough because like I forgot who was making this point, but I'm not the biggest NBA fan, but with the Spurs, Greg Popovich had some lean years there in San Antonio after some of their top players left, but they stuck with him, and that seems to be, paying off a little bit now. And I wonder if the Patriots would be willing to do something similar with Bill Belichick, but the fan base has turned against him so much now that it might almost be kind of a point of no return there.
So, do you think it would be a trade or a mutually parted ways? Because the Broncos they sent a 2024 third round pick. They exchanged first round picks with the Broncos and a first round pick and a second round pick in the 2023 draft. So, do you think it'd be something similar or something bigger? Or hey, we're mutually parting ways? Because I don't think they'll fire him because of the respect that they have for him. But just what's your vision there?
Yeah, I think that if they were going to fire him, it probably would have happened already, but I don't think you can do that. I think that would look really bad for Robert Kraft to fire him. So I don't know. I mean, it's really tough. I think that ideally they'd like some sort of trade. I think that might be best for all parties. The Commanders have been brought up. Carolina Panthers now have an opening in their head coaching role. People have brought up the Chargers just because they've got Justin Herbert, and it's a good market and everything like that. And I think that I think that he could probably take over some personnel duties maybe there in Los Angeles if something like that happened. But I think that it'll have to be some sort of trade or mutual parting of ways, unless Bill Belichick says, "Listen, I'm not going anywhere. I don't agree to leaving. I don't want to be traded. So if you want to get rid of me, then you have to take the PR nightmare of firing me," which is something that I could potentially see him doing. I could see him being stubborn in this situation if he really doesn't want to go anywhere. If he wants to stick around the area, if he wants to keep coaching this team, then I could see him making this as difficult as possible on Robert Kraft.
Hypothetically, in a hypothetical world, let's just say the Chargers decide to bring him in. By the way, he's only 2 years younger than owner Dean Spano, so that's pretty interesting. But say that he comes in, they have a quarterback like you said. Say that the GM and the head coach are no longer here, and they bring in Bill Belichick. What would the team be getting with bringing in a 71-year-old Bill Belichick?
I think it would bring a lot. I kind of like that fit. I guess it would sort of depend on who he could bring in as some of his assistants. I could see like Josh McDaniels coming in as the offensive coordinator. He could make his rounds around the AFC West even more.
Imagine his closet, black, orange, powder blue. All he needs is that Chiefs red.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm sure he wishes they could go to the Chiefs and work with Patrick Mahomes. But no, I think that Herbert and McDaniels would be a good fit if that's someone that Bill Belichick would be interested in continuing to work with. I think that he could get that defense back on track. I think it might take some personnel maneuvering to get the best pieces in place to run his defense. But I mean, I think it would also bring, I don't know, I think that Chargers fans, even though Bill Belichick might have fallen off, or that's, the perception around the NFL that he's fallen off a little bit over the last few years, I think he could bring some excitement. I mean, he's still a guy who's won 6 Super Bowls here in New England, 8 overall, including his time with the Giants. So I don't know. I think that he could still use some help in personnel because it seems like that's kind of where he's fallen behind more than anything. But if he's got the right guy in place to run the offense, and he could just run that defense, get that back on track, trust someone to handle Justin Herbert, and that's not a hard job at all. I think that pretty much anyone could get decent play out of Justin Herbert. So I don't think that's a major concern. And then I don't know. I mean, one thing that you might be getting is someone who's unwilling to spend a lot on wide receivers. So I'm not sure how that would work out. With Keenan Allen getting up there in age and some of the pieces that they're missing there, but he kind of does things an old school way as far as skill position players go, as far as offensive line goes, as far as drafting goes. But I do think that he would upgrade the Chargers. I think that they would probably at least make the playoffs next year if he was the head coach. And I think it's an interesting fit. I think that, Herbert, Belichick, and then whoever's running the offense would be a good match altogether.
I'm so appreciative of joining the Los Angeles Chargers. I get to coach Justin Herbert. I'm very excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. At least, I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think of like how he would do with LA media, and there's certainly less beat writers out there covering the Chargers than there are with the Patriots, but
I think there'd be a lot more national attention on
for
like.
sure.
It would be that I am picturing them, and I'm on my way right now to go to the media room, but I could picture that place just flooded with cameras and him just standing up there. Brandon Staley's opening press conference was almost 2 hours long.
Wow.
With Bill Belichick, I don't think it would last 2 minutes. Like, I think he would just like, we're just focusing on the season. We're just focusing on like,
he can turn it on though. Like even in Germany, he was like laughing and joking around with the press and stuff. So with maybe like the first presser, you might get like 20-25 minutes out of him. You might get Bill in a good mood. You might say like, you might lull yourself into thing like, oh wow, Bill's not that bad, like this is easy, Bill's great. And then as the season goes along, then he turns into himself a little bit more. But yeah, it would definitely be a major change for you guys going from someone like Brandon Staley to Bill Belichick. But yeah, certainly not ready to fire Brandon Staley yet, but I don't know. Obviously, this season has not gone according to plan for the Chargers this year either.
I've heard a lot about that media out there. I heard somebody ask Travis Kelce, "Are you in love?" And it's like, whoa, like, chill out. But yeah, I heard that media was definitely interesting. But yeah,
Yes.
I think Bill Belichick would definitely be interested. And last thing for me, Doug, he might be hungry for this, like especially with everything that's happened. I know he probably doesn't listen, but he has to hear the whole, oh, Tom, you needed Tom Brady. Tom Brady won you those 6 rings. Then he went to Tampa and won one. He has to hear that and be like, dude, like foaming at the mouth to try and win another one, even though he has nothing to prove. He's still one of, if not the greatest head coach of all time. But if he could win one with, let's say, a franchise like this or the Commanders, you have to throw him there's no way you can say anything bad about him, because taking one of those 2 franchises and winning with them, I mean, that would be something that would be incredible, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He certainly still has a lot of competitive fire. And you're even seeing that with how he's dealing with the media with this quarterback situation. Like, he's not being complacent right now. He's not making things easy. He's not giving up. And I think that he does feel that. And I think he also still is motivated to break Don Shula's record for most wins by a head coach. And he's still quite a ways away from that after a season like this one. So he'd have to string together 2 or 3 good seasons somewhere else, whether that's LA or Washington or back in New England or Carolina, wherever that would be. Dallas, I think, is still a possibility.
Okay, real quick. If the Bills fired Sean McDermott, is that crazy?
I don't think the Patriots would be willing to trade him in division. That would be tough. I mean, it's already happened once. He was traded from the Jets to the Patriots, so I guess nothing's out of the realm of possibility. But if the Bills are willing to give up, I guess, like a first-round pick or 2 first-round picks, whatever it would be, then maybe. But ultimately, I'm not sure if the Patriots can get a first-round pick out of Bill Belichick. I know you asked that earlier. After a 2-9 record, I think like people have kind of thrown around like a second-round pick. Maybe that could be more realistic. They'd have to get something for him. But yeah, I mean, the Bills would be fascinating. And maybe just a 1-for-1 swap. Get Sean McDermott in New England, get Bill Belichick in Buffalo. That would be fascinating, right?
There you go. Doug Kyed, make sure you guys follow him. Boston Herald Patriots reporter. He's been there for years. Make sure you guys give him a follow. Doug, thank you so much for jumping on the show.
Absolutely. Anytime. Good to talk to you.